Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is a special analysis where we are looking at the sentiments by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in his claims about Raila Odinga, his entry into government, the money involved, and the use of his support base for bargain. Now, this has come not as a shock to Kenyans, but as a constant historical claims that have gone forth on the person of Raila Odinga and his relationship with Mount Kenya, the base of Rigathi Gachagua, where he's now claiming to be kingship as far as, kingpin, as far as the politics of this country are concerned. And in the heart of all this is where he's been on the foreign land and claimed clearly that Raila Odinga has never been interested in the presidents. He only runs for presidents and then bargain to get into government because he's avoiding responsibility. Now, in this particular video, I'll be looking at Rigathi Gachagua, his claims, and of course, if he has ever had any support for Raila Odinga or any good positioning for Raila Odinga in the entirety of his politics, meaning that he would forge anything or say anything that will be worthwhile as far as the person and the contribution of Raila Odinga is to this country historically and even currently. Well, we'll begin right where the whole story started, and that is from the United States of America and Rigathi Gachagua's bite. Let's look into this, then come back to break it down.
Within a very short time, he captured Parliament. Parliament cannot ask a question. He captured the Senate. They cannot ask a question. He compromised all institutions of oversight. Nobody can ask a question. The only person who remained who could ask a question was Tinga, Raila Odinga. And he told me, we'll look for this man. He loves money. We'll give him some money. He'll also keep quiet. And sure as December 25 is Christmas. I'm telling you, just as sure as December 25 is Christmas, the way Osinde has explained, the man is eating and hence observing table manners. He cannot speak, his mouth is full. So the two are one and the same. And you know, sometimes we were debating. Okay, William Ruto is a great mistake. It's a mistake we have to live with. We made a mistake. I made a mistake. And I have apologized to the people of Kenya. But what was the alternative? Had we elected Raila Odinga, the same thing would have happened. The two would have crossed ranks. They start eating together the way they are doing today. So we are just saying Kenya was presented with two unpleasant choices. There were two hyenas, but they were different. One without teeth and one with teeth. And I think to a certain extent, President Uhuru Kenyatta was right. Probably we should have gone for the hyena without teeth because it will not finish us in one day. Yeah? Si ingetukula pole pole. Sasa mimi Rigathi Gachagua decided to go for the hyena with the teeth. And it started with me. So somebody was telling me, much as I sympathize with you, Na nafikiri ni sawa, hii fisi iko na meno ilianza na wewe, ndio sasa ikujie, si? So yesterday I heard David Morale saying that Jubilee can support Raila Odinga if they abandon William Ruto. Raila Odinga and William Ruto are birds of the same feather. None of them is an alternative. We must get rid of the two because they are Kenya's problem. So when he bought Raila Odinga and he kept quiet, then he started stealing everything in the country, started killing people, and I disagreed with him. And I was left as the only option now to fight for the people of Kenya from within government. Everybody else had been compromised. I was left alone. And I started fighting from within. So when he decided to kill our children, the Gen Z, I said no. And when he insisted and killed them on June 25th, 2024, I went to Mombasa and called a press conference as Deputy President and told him off. And that was our parting shot. We never talked again from that day. We would only...
There you have it. Rigathi Gachagua, former Deputy President, his claims about Raila Odinga and William Ruto. He says they are one and the same thing in terms of their quest for politics and the gains that come thereby. But we can't help but ask questions on the position of Rigathi Gachagua, the difference between Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, even as he claims Raila Odinga is one of them. And I don't refute, they are all politicians, and politicians are all the same in terms of they play the same game, and therefore they must wear the same jersey and, of course, play in their team, supporting each other either publicly or privately. So that is out of the way. But what I find fascinating is that now Rigathi Gachagua is an alternative when he was the deputy president of William Ruto and led in the campaign of convincing Kenyans that William Ruto is fit for the job and he's the man that should be voted into office. He's currently in office, and it wasn't until after Rigathi Gachagua was impeached that now we can begin to hear what he is talking about. And on that analogy of table manners, could it be that Rigathi Gachagua is confessing that while he was on the table, he was also quiet because he was eating? And if he did eat while he is quiet in government until he is kicked out, then he begins to make noise. Then what is the difference between him and what he's accusing Raila Odinga for? And if that be the case, Raila Odinga is not a young man. He's an old man. He's been in this politics for ages. It is what he's known for. There is proven records of his participation and leading in the struggle. Is it his joining hands with William Ruto that now makes him an hyena? Or he has been an hyena all along? And if he wasn't an option, and right now he is not an option, what makes Rigathi Gachagua a better option? What makes Rigathi Gachagua's judgment on who becomes the next CEO of this great country trustworthy? If he went around with William Ruto, marketed William Ruto, and now he says William Ruto deceived him into believing that he was genuine and, of course, committed to the country, but now he realizes that William Ruto is not good for the job and William Ruto is looting the country. what makes us now able to believe Rigathi Gachagua that he is now born again, his eyes are now open, and now he can judge and tell us who can be best for the leading of this great country. I leave that for you, and you can respond in the comment section and just let me know where you stand on this. And of course, you're free to refute, agree, disagree. We're in a free country, free world. We need to hear what you feel about the whole scenario. But I find what Rigathi Gachagua to be one, hypocritical, two, he stands a better picture of what he is accusing Raila Odinga for. And I'll have to show you some videos to prove that, especially on the issue of love for money. Raila Odinga loves money, and William Ruto bought him over. Is it true that Raila Odinga was bought? Is it true that Raila Odinga loves money? Do we have any history of Raila Odinga fighting for his money, either for his office, for his retirement package, or his remuneration in public, in court? Anyone who has any historical reality of the same, I would love to see it in the comment section there. So let me, let me know, educate me on the same. But to the best of my knowledge, the person that has a record and outstanding record for being in court and fighting for his personal money is one Rigathi Gachagua. And to that, I would also want to point out that he is just deflecting who he is to another person, probably so that Kenyans can believe him. But from where I sit, nobody loves money than Rigathi Gachagua, and nobody is in government or outside government for money than Rigathi Gachagua. And so I will take you down the history lane and just let you know on how fiercely Rigathi Gachagua has been on the forefront fighting for money he claims to be his, including challenging a ruling of the courts just to get back what he could not substantiate on how he got it. And it became so fierce until when he was sworn in as deputy president, he looked for maneuvers to get that particular ruling of the High Court overturned in the Court of Appeal for him to get the money that he could not substantiate where it came from. If William Ruto is corrupt and Raila Odinga loves money and he will do anything to get the money, Rigathi Gachagua is worse than both of them. That's my opinion. You're free to air what you feel on the same. But let's just remind ourselves on how far we've been coming on the issue of Rigathi Gachagua, the money, and the fight that is involved. But before that, let's just bring in this bite again just to enhance what he said, and thereafter we'll look at what he has done and said about getting his money and see the difference between him and Raila Odinga in relation to money and the government. Here we go.
Hit out at ODM Chief Raila Odinga, claiming he has been misleading his supporters and using them as a bargaining chip to get into government. He opposed. Gachagua, who spoke during an engagement with Kenyans living in Southern California and America, rallied them to kick both Odinga and President William Ruto from office in the 2027 general election.
Every election cycle, he has been mobilizing my cousins. The minute he gets there, he doesn't intend to be president. He has no such intention. He's not interested. He likes power, but with no responsibility. He doesn't want to take responsibility. So he creates problems. He is invited into government and starts eating. And that is why, like now, he is quiet. Because he's a very good observer of good manners. When you're on the table eating, you don't talk. So these cousins now have found their way as a family. And now all the cousins are talking the same language. So I saw Tinga the other day crying about cousins. He was crying in a funeral. Instead of mourning the late Phoebe Asio, he was mourning the loss of cousins from his grip.
There you have it, Rigathi Gachagua and his claims against Raila Odinga, and of course, with the issue of table manners. But like I said, a lot is to be desired from what Rigathi Gachagua is saying, not in the sense that Raila Odinga is a saint or Raila Odinga is perfect. But I would want to place it to the doorstep of Rigathi Gachagua on the aspect of people being bought to be silent, and then on the aspect of Raila Odinga not wanting to be president. Rigathi Gachagua is yet to run for one presidential campaign, or rather be on the ballot as a presidential candidate. Raila Odinga has offered himself 5 times for the presidency of this great country. And in most of those 5 times, he won the elections, yet he was not sworn in by what you know goes around when it comes to who becomes the CEO of this great country. And it's a known fact that there are people who have taken oath and sworn that there is no way they will let somebody from Nyanza become president in this country. And all that has come into play. And Rigathi Gachagua is fully into that picture. He knows what he's talking about and he understands what goes on. So when he begins to talk the way he's talking, in my opinion, he's becoming economical with the truth, although he claims to be the man of truth. And that is why in this particular presentation, I would want to lay everything bare and leave for you to judge who is the man of the truth in all this. Who is who in all that is going on in our particular politics. Like I said, Rigathi Gachagua is been a one-time member of parliament and then suddenly, of course, ran as deputy president and got into office. What did he do while he was in the office? The issue of cousins. I'm surprised that we are suddenly his cousins. After all this while, we were not shareholders. And the government was for shareholding. And only the people who voted for the Kenya Kwanza administration were the shareholders of the government. And it was Rigathi Gachagua's sole responsibility at State House to arrange people according to their shares when they seek any government, wherever intervention on any matter. This is information that is in the public domain. What has happened to Rigathi Gachagua that he has metamorphosed into now a cousin to Kenyans? And this cousinhood is also very, questionable because it is determined by who is for William Ruto and who is not for William Ruto. So it's not cousins of being Bantu, Nilots, or Kushites. It is cousins of who forge for William Ruto or forge against William Ruto. Well, is this how judgment is done? Is this how matters should be looked into? I leave for you also to respond in the comment section on what you think about the whole scenario. But in my opinion, Rigathi Gachagua is not telling Kenyans the truth, and this cousin issue is good as it lasts. But if it is built on a lie, is built on pretense, is built on hypocrisy, it's not going anywhere. Raila Odinga, not an option for presidency, not option for leadership. And like somebody noted, it's very difficult to be a Raila Odinga. When you keep quiet, you are eating. When you speak, you are creating problems so that you can be called on the table, then begin to eat. So what should Raila Odinga do so that he is a good man or is a good leader? When he talks is a problem. When he keeps quiet is a problem. If you are Raila Odinga, what would you do? I'll leave that for you also to respond. But now let's look for the money of Rigathi Gachagua and how he fiercely fights to get his money, no matter where it is and how it is. Then you will draw for me the difference between him and Raila Odinga at the tail end of this video. Let's keep going.
All right, and Madeira Member of Parliament risks losing 200 million shillings should the Assets Recovery Agency get a go-ahead to release the money to the government.
Now, the agency says Gachagua failed to prove his claims that the money had been loaned to him.
Meanwhile, the state has dropped charges on 3 people charged alongside former National Lands Commission Chairman Mohamed Swazuri in the 220 million shilling Kenya Railways land fraud case.
Well, this and more stories from the courts.
The Assets Recovery Agency is seeking to forfeit 200,773,228 shillings belonging to Mathira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua that is held at Rafiki Microfinance Bank. The agency denied claims by Rigathi that the money was a repayment for a loan, as Rigathi failed to provide evidence to that effect. The agency maintains the transaction by Rigathi is a decoy for money laundering to mislead the court, and further dismissed Rigathi's claims that the investigations were a political witch hunt.
Okay, there you have it. That is from the archives when Gachagua was Madeira Member of Parliament, and there was a case of the 200 million that he couldn't substantiate how he got it, and it was ruled that the Assets and Recovery Commission should get back the money and let it revert to the government because it appeared that it is proceeds from corruption. I want you to look at this other video to show the response of Rigathi Gachagua when it comes to money, and then from there I'll leave for you to judge who loves the money and who can do anything to get the money. Here we go.
Mimi Rigathi Gachagua nimekusaidia mwaka 20. Wewe nilikutoa kwa baa, nikakuunda mpaka ukakuwa rais. Miaka hii yote nimekusaidia. Wewe umekuja kutuumiza. Umekuja umeniwekelea makesi ya uongo. Umekuja umeninyang'anya pesa yangu. Sasa baada ya kufanya hiyo yote unatisha mimi ati nitajua yeye ni rais wa Kenya. Mimi Rais Uhuru Kenyatta na kuomba nikiwa hapa Nyeri, usiue sisi vile baba yako aliua JM Kariuki. Mimi nakuomba. Na rais, kama lazima uue sisi, utuue wiki hii. Hii watu watakuja kusika sisi. Ni nini unauliza sisi? Unakasirika tunaenda nyumbani. Si ulikuwa unajua iko kwa katiba lazima uende nyumbani? Makasiriko ni ya nini? Wewe ni tajiri. Hii leri hii ulijenga hapa ukafukuza watu wetu hapa kwa barabara. Inabeba mafuta ya familia yako kupeleka Nyanyuki. Na hakuna mtu ile linasaidia. Kuna mtu ile linasaidia. Watu ya Chaka, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta walikuwa na soko hapa wanapata pesa. Ukawafukuza ukawapeleka pahali hakuna biashara. Ukajenga leri ukatumia 3.8 billion. Na kazi ya leri hiyo ni kubeba mafuta ya Rubes ya familia yenu kwenda Nyanyuki. Rais wetu umekuja hapa, umenunua kampuni zote za maziwa. Wewe unanyanyasa wakulima ya maziwa. Unawanunulia maziwa 40 shillings. Unaenda na chemusha na weka pakiti. Unatusia 120. Unatengeneza faida ya 300%. Unanyanyasa wakulima ya maziwa na unanyanyasa wenye kununua maziwa. Wewe pesa tuliwachiwa hapa na Mwai Kibaki.
Ulichukua pesa yote ukaficha ng'ambo huko Panama Islands. Ulisema ukitoka ng'ambo utatuambia hiyo pesa ulibeba kwa nini. Imekuwaje miaka 2 umerudi rais na hujasema kwa nini ulichukua pesa Kenya tuliwachiwa na Mwai Kibaki ukaficha huko ng'ambo? Mimi nakwambia rais, wewe baba yako alichukua mashamba ya Maumau. Hiyo mashamba ndio unaringa naye sasa. Shamba ya Gecheha ilikuwa ya Maumau mkanyakua. Shamba ya kahawa mkanyakua. Tunataka tukuambie rais, wachana na sisi. Wewe enda nyumbani ukapumzike. Tumekubaliana? Wangapi wanasema Uhuru aende nyumbani, aende nyumbani, aende nyumbani, aende nyumbani? Na tunakuambia rais tukiwa hapa nyumbani, wewe wachana na William Ruto. William Ruto ndio alikusaidia ukakuwa rais wa Kenya. Isipokuwa ni William Ruto ukakuwa rais wa Kenya. Kweli ama uongo? Si ni Uhuru alisema 10-10? Si Uhuru alisema 10-10? Sasa anasema ati Ruto ni muongo. Yeye alisema 10-10 akatudanganya. Kati ya Ruto na Uhuru ni nani muongo? Ni nani muongo? Mnasema aende? Aende. Wewe rais, ninakutumania nikiwa hapa karibu State Lodge. Tumana na makaton kuja chukua vitu yako. Hii nyumba tunataka ikuwe tayari, ndio itakuwa makao ya William Samoei Ruto akiwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Okay, there you have it. Rigathi Gachagua, former deputy president, by that time he was an MP of Madeira and fighting tooth and nail to get the 200 million that he was not able to substantiate. And so when the ruling came out not in his favor, you see how he's fighting and using everything in his power to see to it that he gets back the 200 million, to an extent of going personal, to an extent of inciting the public against Uhuru Kenyatta, as well as the Uhuru Kenyatta family, their businesses. You can see he's not joking about his money. He's not joking about the 200 million. He wants it, and he's willing to go to any length to get it back. Now, I want you to do that in comparison with the Raila Odinga that is accused for loving money, that when he's given money, he keeps quiet and all that. Who is fighting for money? Who is using the public to get his money back? Between Raila Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua, I leave for you also to judge, and you can always give your view in the comment section there. We will interact and be able to find where do we stop in all this engagement in terms of our leaders, their claims, their stance, their principles, their lack of principles, even as we proceed. So that accusation against Raila Odinga for using the public to get money or using his supporters to get government deals, according to what you have seen so far, is it something we can count on? And I've placed out a challenge out there to every one of you that has any claim of how much Raila Odinga is paid and settled in order for him to support or give a helping hand to an administration. And I've even mentioned the people that have said this in public. All that I'm talking about is in the public domain. The handshake between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta was, coined to mean handshake by Miguna, a senior lawyer of many years and practicing internationally. I'm yet to be given any proof that actually Raila Odinga was given a check that of this amount in order for him to provide the handshake. Where is the evidence? Or are we rumor mongering? Are we gossiping? Because if there was a check, there is always a track record. We can trace that check. If there was bank transfer, our banks are not in heaven, they are right here. If that information is available anywhere, let that information be provided, other than just people going to the podium, using the podium to throw, words out there that are baseless. And that is one of the things that I find very difficult in listening to politicians, their claims and counterclaims. I would love that if there is anything that would want to pass across to the public, let it be valid, not just playing around with words in the pretext that maybe somehow the public will believe us and dislike somebody. And that's also another aspect of our politics that is very ugly and, in my opinion, unnecessary, where you want to build on castigating and running down one person in order for you to come up. If you are the best, you will be fast. But if you have to make everybody the worst so that you become the best, then there is something wrong with your best. It simply means you can't become the best. You can only succeed in mudslinging others so that you look better. And you can see that playing clearly into the politics of Rigathi Gachagua. And therefore, I don't trust him one bit. And him being a saint now, that he's converted and now he loves Kenya more than Kenyans, and he is now fighting for Kenya, I doubt every one of it. Well, one of the things that are interesting on the same is that he succeeded to get that money. Let me just play that clip of him getting back the 200 when he became deputy president. I wanted to see that. He gets on the table, he begins to eat, just like he's accusing Raila Odinga. And then thereafter, I will give you the recent one, and thereafter we'll be calling it conclusion. Well, let's watch this. Rigathi Gachagua getting back the 200 million.
202 million belonging to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, which was forfeited to the state, has been handed back to him. The Asset Recovery Agency has said that after gathering new evidence, they found out that the money forfeited to the state 6 months ago was not proceeds of crime, and that the Deputy President has explained the source and legitimacy of the said money to satisfaction. They claimed that at the time the High Court was issuing its judgment, the new evidence was not placed before the judge since the agency was not in possession of the said evidence. Today the Court of Appeal vacated the forfeiture order issued by the High Court last year and also set aside the said judgment of the High Court. This means that funds held in 3 accounts at Rafiki Microfinance Bank in the name of Rigathi Gachagua will be released to him. Funds held in another account belonging to Gen Enterprises will also be released. The funds, at Rafiki Microfinance Bank, are held in 3 accounts, with one holding 165 million. A second account holds 35 million and the other holding 773,228. A fourth account, holding 1 million, is registered in the name of Gen Enterprises. Mr. Gachagua said last year that one of his dreams when he becomes deputy president will be to recover the frozen money after the government questioned the source of 12 billion that passed through his bank accounts.
There you have it. As soon as you become deputy president, you get into government, new evidence is adduced, and recovery of the money that was out of crime proceeds becomes holy. It becomes justified. It becomes clean again. That is Rigathi Gachagua for you. Remember what he said. When he becomes deputy president, his number one dream, his number one vision is to recover the 202 million Kenya shillings that was taken because he couldn't substantiate how he got the money. No sooner did he become deputy president than a new light from heaven came and brought about new evidence, new explanation that convinced the Asset and Recovery Commission to release back the money to Rigathi Gachagua. So, between Raila Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua, who loves money and who will do anything to get money, I leave for you to judge, as I've said before. But I would want you to look at all this, because I'm looking into this because I don't want the public to be carried away by getting emotionally worked up and fail to judge matters and judge the leaders of the people for who they are, and not taking people's words on the surface, but digging deeper to see to it that whatever we are siding with and whatever we are supporting is valid, and not just people looking on the other side. And it is said that the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, these are players, but at the end of the day, we need credible leadership, and credible leadership doesn't look like what Rigathi Gachagua is trying to give to us as him being an alternative, or his team being an alternative, simply because he's able to call every other person names and is able to mudsling every other person, from Uhuru Kenyatta to Raila Odinga and every other person that he has crossed lines with. None of them becomes anything in his sight simply because they don't agree with him. And also, Rigathi Gachagua's claim about the protesters and how to deal with protesters, and especially in the claim that there is destruction of property. That will be the video we'll be concluding this particular presentation with. But like I promised, the latest from the courts is that Rigathi Gachagua, after being impeached from being Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, is now in court claiming compensation of the 5 years that he was to be in the office, even after being impeached. And he wants the salary for all the 5 years, having served 2 years or 1.5. Now, that to me is a proof that this person with money, you can't separate them. With money, he will go to any length to get it. Legally, illegally, may God help us. But let's just get that bite from the courts, and then from there, we'll conclude with the exchange between Rigathi Gachagua and Raila Odinga on the protest. And I will leave for you to judge who is in protecting the lives of Kenyans and who is for destroying the lives of Kenyans if they destroy property.
Months after being removed from office, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has taken a new direction in court. He now wants to be compensated for the remainder of his 5-year term rather than return to government.
From employment, for declining to give in to certain types of unwelcome harassment, and 6, damages instead of reinstatement to a toxic talk.
Appearing before the court through his lawyer Paul Mwite, Gachagua argues that his impeachment was unlawful. He is now asking for leave to amend his petition to drop the reinstatement request and instead seek monetary damages.
We will further seek to persuade this honorable court to grant him the emolument he would have earned that he served for the entire 5 years for which he had been elected.
In court, Mwite clarified that the case will proceed without any further interim applications and requested an expedited hearing. He described the matter as personal, not of public interest. While the details of the impeachment remain politically charged, none of the respondents opposed the application to revise the petition.
For completeness of the record, on behalf of the respondents, we would like to indicate that we have no objection.
The case now moves forward on new grounds, with Gachagua pursuing what he believes is rightfully his financial compensation for time he believes was unfairly cut short. The court is expected to set hearing dates soon, paving the way for what could be a landmark case on impeachment and compensation. Meanwhile, the High Court has declined to stop the arrest of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Justice Lawrence Mugambi directed that the application be served on the respondents, with the matter set for mention on June 18th for further directions.
Landmark case there where somebody gets impeached and files for compensation. I would just want to remind us that there is something in the Constitution called security of tenure, but it doesn't apply to every office and it doesn't apply to every government official. I think they are just heads of commissions that are given that security of tenure. The president of the Supreme Court is also enjoying that security of tenure. But deputy president, and other people, when they get impeached out of office, that's the end of the story. But not Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua, he will go for his money wherever it is, anyhow, and of course, look for any means to get it. And now he's revised his petition before the court that instead of him being reinstated, because probably he says that he was impeached unlawfully. And of course, there are a lot of questions around his impeachment, of which some are valid, some are not. But I just brought this out so that we see who is the lover of money and who wants to be paid for not working. That is also obtaining money falsely, because if you're ejected out of office, and Rigathi Gachagua is not the first one to be impeached. The current, the former governor of Meru, Mwangaza, was impeached. Compensations, I have not seen it. Mike Sonko was impeached. Compensation, I've not seen it. White was impeached. We have not seen any filing of any compensation. But Rigathi Gachagua, his money has to be gotten. And so, between Raila Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua, if there is any person who loves money, I think Rigathi Gachagua leads as Raila Odinga follows, if there is any truth into what it is being said. And having said that, I want to leave you with the exchange between Rigathi Gachagua and Raila Odinga on protest. And I brought this specifically for you to judge who is capable of risking the Kenyans' lives when it comes to property. Is it Raila Odinga or Rigathi Gachagua? And I also want you to remember that Rigathi Gachagua was in the country and in charge of taking care of the protesters during the Azimio 2023 protests. What did he do differently? Did we have people die? Did we have people killed while he was in charge? President Ruto was outside the country. The person who was calling shots, reporting to the office at 5 a.m. in the morning, was Rigathi Gachagua. What has changed? People died. People were dragged from their beds in Nyalende and other parts of Kisumu and shot. All of it is because they are protesting against the William Ruto administration. In charge of the country at that point in time was Rigathi Gachagua. So the Gen Z killings, bad. Azimio killings, protecting property. Common factor, common denomination. Rigathi Gachagua, I don't trust him one bit. You're free to hear what you think about the same. And of course, I look forward to interacting with you in the comment section as we look into this conclusively. And of course, I encourage you, if you are not yet a subscriber to our channel, please subscribe Sound Candy Talk Live YouTube channel, and follow us on TikTok. We are Sound Candy Talk, and on Facebook is Sound Candy Talk Facebook page. Let's part ways with this great exchange between these two leaders, as they will help us judge who is who, where, and why. Thank you so much. See you in a short while.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua clashed at the burial of Mau Mau veteran John Jigoya Kagwe, alias General Mathenge, in Nyandarua County. Azimio leader Raila Odinga sparked the exchange when he told the Deputy President to allow ongoing talks between the opposition and Kenya Kwanza government, asserting that he was not interested in a share of the government. The DP, in response, accused Raila of pursuing self-interests and leading destructive demonstrations. Stimulator reports.
The burial of renowned Mau Mau veteran General Mathenge in Nyandarua County provided a forum for heated national-level politics, with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua taking on Azimio leader Raila Odinga in one of their rare joint meetings in public. Odinga, who took first to the podiums, pointedly told the Deputy President to let talks between the opposition and government continue. Gachagua on Tuesday said the talks will yield nothing.
Lakini kama wanaweza kuzungumza ni sawa sawa. Sasa Rigiji hakuna ubaya ya watu kuzungumza. Wache watu wazungumze. Hata kama wewe hutaki kusikia maneno yangu, lakini sikiza tu.
Prime Minister, my brother, hatukatai salamu, hatukatai maongeo. We fear you. The reason, ulikuja unakapata na mtoto wetu Uhuru Kenyatta, alikuwa mtu mzuri. Alitupenda. Alitufanyia kazi. Muliposhikana na yeye akageuka.
Raila saying he has no interest in a share of government, as he has often been accused by the Deputy President.
Sisi hatutaki nusu mkati. Mkati gani, nusu mkati gani? Mimi sitaki kuwa naibu wa rais. Sitaki kuwa waziri mkuu. Yale yote mimi nishakuwa. Mimi sina haja. Weka pole pole, usiseme ati sisi hatutaki, wanataka mtu mkati, ameongea na Ruto, Ruto amemwambia nini? Mimi nikutana na Ruto lini?
If you assure us hakuna kitu kitafanyika kwa rais wetu mkipatana, muendelee. Lakini sisi katika area hii tunaogopa.
Disagreement was not just on the talks. Raila also told the Deputy President that demonstrations were protected by the Constitution.
Hakuna mwenda wazimu. Hakuna mtu anaweza kujitokeza na kwenda barabarani kufanya maandamano kama hakuna shida. Hii katiba tuko naye ililetwa na maandamano. Wakenya wanajitokeza kama hawezi kukubaliana.
And that is why we allowed you and your people to do it. But what you did was not demonstration. Ilikuwa ni kuharibu mali ya Wakenya. Ilikuwa ni kupora mali ya Wakenya. Ilikuwa ni wizi ya mali ya watu ya Kenya. Ilikuwa ni kupiga polisi na mawe. Those were not demonstrations. That was theft. It was looting. It was destruction of property. That cannot be allowed in this republic.
Deputy President saying Azimio protests were aimed at undermining President William Ruto's administration, as the cost of essential commodities had been higher under the Kenyatta administration. Yet there were no protests.
Sisi tumetuma Kimani Ichung'wa, wewe umetuma Kalonzo, waendelee. Piga tu kelele kutoka asubuhi alafu mwende nyumbani, no problem. Lakini kuguza mali ya mtu, mwe. Hasa hata kama mnataka kuharibu ya Wakenya, muharibu kwenu.
Ubaguzi ya kikabila ambayo mnajaribu kuleta hapa, mwacha hiyo. Kenya ni moja. Sisi zote ni Wakenya.
Rigathi during his speech flashed the Mau Mau land card in Odinga's face.
Wewe umejulikana kwa kupigania haki ya Wakenya wale wanyonge. Ningekuuliza kwa heshima, uige baba yako. Pigania mashamba ya Mau Mau. Na wale ambayo wako na hiyo mashamba unawajua ni marafiki zako. Utusaidie hapo.
The two leaders eulogized the late General Mathenge as a true fighter, patriot and human rights champion.
There you have it. Sharp exchanges between Raila Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua, and from there you can judge who is who, where, and why. And I leave for you to genuinely look into all that and come to conclusion by yourself who is telling the truth and who has the interest of the country at heart and who is pursuing selfish interest. But at the end of the day, we want a Kenya for all Kenyans, and we seek that better Kenya by securing everyone. The Rigathi Gachagua approach of protecting his backyard and exposing the rest of the country is not the Kenya we are looking for. It's not the Kenya that is envisioned in our constitution. And so, as we fight for a better Kenya and as we pursue to find where the truth is, just remain true to what is valid, what is constitutional, and what will make every other Kenyan safe and secure. I want to appreciate all of you for always being here and, of course, following this particular channel. Please support us by subscribing and giving a thumbs up to the video. And of course, I'll be meeting you in the Open Forum Political Discussion show that will be coming later on.